to the truck, actually working on the truck. This feels good. Today we're going to be doing some fabrication, doing some cutting and just more filler work. Hopefully this will be the end of filler work altogether, and then we can get really down the road with this thing and get the final push before we go into primer. That is the goal for today. So with that being said, let's get going. All right, so the goal today is to hopefully be done with filler work altogether. There might be some touch up later, but the major filler work, just end up finishing this roll pan and get this bedside done. And then I won't have to be covered in filler dust anymore. That's the goal. All right, well, it's getting there. I'm mostly just doing a skim coat pretty much all the way down, and then going in and just doing tiny little touch-ups here. Skim coat, yeah, I know it looks like a ton of filler, and you would think that it is, but it's really just a skim coat, and then doing some touch-ups, and then be able to put the epoxy on pretty soon. I'm very excited to be very close to being done with filler and all this filler dust. All right, well, this door cleaned up pretty good. Very straight, but unfortunately I did notice some rust through pinholes in through here. So we're just gonna have to cut this out and then replace that. But then the tricky part will be not imparting so much heat that it warps the rest of the door. But we'll get to that when we get to that. So looking at the dash, there's a few things I want to do. This is a radio delete truck. Didn't come with a radio. As you guys probably know, I use my phone through a Bluetooth unit that's hidden under the seat for my music. So I was thinking about getting rid of those plastic, I talked about this before, kind of 80s style vents that came with the vintage air kit, and then install a pair of these up here. I think that'll just give for a much cleaner look for right there. I need to address this area here. As you can see, it's pretty floppy, so I need to run some reinforcement. There used to be a reinforcement here, but for whatever reason, in my infinite wisdom, I cut that out and need to come up with something. I think it was just too big and in the way. I think I was going to come up with something that was just lower profile to be able to run all the wiring, the AC hoses, and that kind of stuff through there. So I'm going to get this braced up. I also talked about right here is where the choke was, one of these two. And then right here was the original heater control. I've changed that over. That is now a cigarette lighter for 12 volt power. And then these do not get used. So I was going to move my vintage air controls from down on that plastic part that was down there, and then use this plate that this mounts to, and then cut this out to be able to mount my vintage air controls up here. And then that leaves me over here with obviously lights and wiper. So yeah. Then I'm just going to fill some holes down here that I drilled to install the vintage air unit. I'll show you guys what the vintage air unit looks like compared to what I want to do. My whole goal is just to clean this up. So this was the stock vintage air unit. It just kind of sat under there like that. And it's, I don't know, just kind of cheap plasticky looking to me. You know, that compared to, say, that. And then having the controls over here, I think it looks a lot cleaner that way, and I think I'll enjoy it much more that way. Alright, so here's that mount. It's just a big old piece of flat stock welded up there, then welded down to where the steering hoop mounts, and then I triangulated it with another piece bolted to the brake pedal assembly. So that way if I ever need to change the brake pedal assembly, it's not welded to it. I just undo the bolt and that'll come right out. But yeah, it's much stiffer now. It doesn't flex whatsoever. It's going to be much nicer. Alright, so what I'm doing here now is just plugging up these holes with weld. I'm just going to use the copper back plate and fill in these holes from where the vintage air unit was, and there's some holes there already. Alright, so that's going to be I kind of traced out the hole. I already made my first cut that this will end up getting mounted to. This is all one unit, all one solid thing, so it's not like I could take the knobs and put them wherever I wanted to. I'm kind of tied by what this is, so it'll look good there, I think. Success! It fits. I think that looks good. That'll be very nice. Nice spacing between the knobs and then the 12 volt power. There's just two little spots that I got to fill with weld. That's where the old round, that's where the keyway was for the old holes there. But man, that's gonna be great. Perfect. And that's what it looks like with the knobs in. Quite nice. Everything clears. No issues there. That's how I like it. I'm happy with that. I think that looks really good. It's going to look much more clean with the controls there and then those there. Getting rid of that whole unsightly plastic piece that hung down there with those old style vents. I think this is going to look much sharper in the end. The interior turned out good. I'm stoked on it. I think we're ready for epoxy. I think that's going to look sharp. Much better than that plastic dash panel, underneath dash panel. I think that looks much better. We are ready to epoxy the interior and this bedside. As you can probably guess, I'm beyond ecstatic that the filler work is finally over. I'm done with all the dust everywhere. So now it's just a matter of getting this thing epoxied and then get ready for filler primer. And then we're gonna be shooting paint. So we're in the final stretch, it seems like, as far as getting the paint work done. I'm really excited about how the interior came out. I think it's clean, simple, much better than what it was before. I think it's gonna tie together much nicer than the AC system kind of looking like an afterthought. It's more integrated now, and I think that looks a lot better. And in the end, I think it'll make a really clean look. I have a little bit more fabrication to do. Gonna change the filler neck, or the filler where I have the filler cap and everything. Gonna do something different there. So we'll be doing that soon. And then, yeah, I'll be getting the inside of the bed painted and everything, and epoxied, and then get that primered. And then we'll be ready for filler primer, and then leveling that out. That's exciting. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. It lets me know you care. I really appreciate it, and it really helps out the videos. And if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. We're gonna be doing a whole lot more videos. We've got more cars that need to get done. So there's gonna be a steady stream of videos coming out with a lot of cool stuff that we're up to. Guys, thank you so much. I appreciate it as always, and I'll see you in the next one.